Okay, it's time for the next one. And this one is going to be fun as well. So this is a list of, it's just common deceptions about the end times. So I'll explain that. But first of all, notice anything new? Yeah, I got a new cover for the table. So this is going to be the new background for the rest of the season. I thought that's kind of, the colors are kind of fallish. So, yep. Okay. Now, so with this list, it's not as long, so this should be one video. But okay, so here's the deal. Like, okay, in the Bible, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff about the end times, and it's a puzzle, and you have to put it together. And I'm sure, I'm sure it's not easy to iron it out, and for anyone. I mean, it took me a long time to get it, put it all, to have it all put together, and it's confusing. I mean, I don't blame people if they just didn't get around to it. We can get busy in life, and it's not exactly the first thing on the list sometimes. So anyway, but I did get around to it, so I did put it together, and there are a lot of details, and there are things that I know there are many people who don't agree with me on, and that's okay. I'm going to keep going. But all I can do is try to iron it out and put out the information, and that's it. But what's interesting is, when I was young, I hadn't done this yet, and I just kind of, listened to different people, and there were all these supposed end times Bible prophecy experts, and I was, of course, interested, so I listened to all these things, and you just kind of take for granted that they know what they're talking about. They have it all put together. They're the experts. They studied this for who knows how long, and they know what they're talking about, and everybody just kind of gives them that that uh, that assumption. Let's just say, that they can be trusted in that. And again, it's confusing, but there are people who just don't know that, they're everywhere. But then you get the ones that they will tell you stuff that's wrong on purpose, just like with the other things. They'll teach false doctrine to steer you into deception on purpose. And the same thing happens with this, and there's a reason for all of it. So it is important to have this somewhat ironed out at least. But anyway, I will get to that outline that I have, but not right now. But right now, I want to address all the misconceptions that are floating around out there. That, the famous end times prophecy experts are pushing. And I just want to shed the light on that and show, first of all, why are they pushing this? And second of all, what are they pushing really, and why? It's just strange. It really is. So, okay, I have 15 items here, so it wouldn't take too long. And I have the Bible verses, but I'm not going to read every single one, okay? I'm just going to refer to where it is, and the listener can look it up and do the homework, because some of them I'll read out, depends, but it's just going to take too long otherwise. Anyway, so number one, one of the misconceptions is that, okay, in the book of Revelation, there's the group called the 144,000. And if people are at least on the same page that these are, they're going to be saved Jews during that time during the second half of the tribulation, all kinds of things are going on with this group. But the only things, so okay, there are some weird groups out there that have other ideas about their identity. And it's like, nope, they are from those tribes, and that's it. They are 100%, the blood is 100% that. So they are that group. Okay, genetically, all right. So, anyway, so that group, there's a purpose for that, and it's all God's plan coming full circle, and that's it. It's all wonderful. But, okay, so anyway, they will make these claims about them. Now, the only place in Revelation, in the whole Bible really, that we have any information on this group is in Revelation chapter 7 and chapter 14. That's it. Okay, the 144,000 are mentioned in those two chapters, and it's not even the whole chapters. It's just somewhere in the chapter they're mentioned. All right, that's all the information we have on them. Okay, now these, I'm just going to refer to them as the, self-proclaimed experts. They claim that these 144,000 are going to be evangelists, worldwide evangelists even, and they're going to be just globe-trotting everywhere, spreading the gospel everywhere, and like as if, oh, that's how the gospel's going to get out during that time, so you don't have to worry about anything. I don't know what they're up to with this, but they are claiming this left and right. And I have run into Christians also left and right who believe this. And, when I studied it all more in depth, I didn't really give it much thought. But then when I really sat down and got down to the nitty-gritty of it all and studied all this, I mean, it's not really anything deep. You just read those two chapters and you notice, okay, that's all it says. So why are they telling people this? I mean, I run into people everywhere who think that, they'll be evangelists. Oh, yes, 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 and I say to them, well, did you know that the Bible actually doesn't say that they'll be evangelists? And I get the blank stare. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't. The only places in the whole Bible they're mentioned are those two chapters. And it says nothing about them being evangelists. Not one word about any kind of evangelizing. And all they'll say, oh, but this guy says, that guy says, well, okay, I say, so based on what are they saying that? They have some special inside information that we don't have, right? If it's not in the Bible, they don't have any inside information. They don't know anything about it extra, okay? So there's nothing else to know. So if it's not in there, there's no reason. It's unfounded for them to run around claiming that. And somebody might say, but it doesn't say they won't be. Yeah, but it doesn't say they won't be jumping off the moon either. I mean, there's no reason to assume anything when, it doesn't say they'll be evangelists. So there's no reason to run around the landscape claiming that they will be, and for anybody assuming that they would be, because technically they're really not. And I'll get to that. That's coming. But, this is one of the misconceptions. It's just not in the Bible. And they're spreading this one like wildfire. I don't know what I can't figure out the motive on that one. But anyway, just know that. You can read those two chapters and you won't see anything in there about evangelizing for them. It says certain things, but that's not one of them. So, sorry, nope. I need a little buzzer or something. Bzzzt, nope. Okay, number 2, and this is connected to it. I've been hearing this since the 80s, okay, that this group or some remnant of Jews, combined with them or something like that, they're going to flee when the time, going gets rough and tribulation gets tough and all that stuff starts, flying around. They're going to flee and go into hiding and escape to a city, I guess it's in Jordan, called Petra. Okay, when that time comes. I've seen pictures of this. There's like a front that's a rock, it's the face of a rock, and they carved out windows and chiseled out little designs on it, and it's so elaborate and all. Oh, they talk about this all the time. Petra, Petra, Petra. Okay, and then you look in the Bible. Nope. Bzzzt. Not one mention of Petra. Okay, and again, we don't know, but like there's no reason to assume it's that. And they say this stuff like they just have this rock solid evidence and they have nothing. They don't have a grain of sand to stand on this one. Okay, so now it says in Revelation, the woman, in this case that's the woman, is going to flee to the wilderness, and it's sort of it's supposed to be secret. Okay, so we're not going to know where and all those details. That's all it says. It doesn't say anything about Petra. Why are they spreading that? It's just bizarre. Okay, so another thing, so that is another no, and again, if it would be somewhere, let's say it could be there, we wouldn't know. But why say it's there if we don't know? It's just dumb, okay? Uh, and and if it's supposed to be some undisclosed location and you suspect it's there, why would you say that? If it's supposed to be a secret, why would they announce it to the world? It's kind of like saying, yeah, hey, psst, they're hiding in there. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. Okay, the other thing that's crazy is the fact that if they're in hiding, how are they going to be worldwide evangelists trotting around the globe spreading the gospel, right? I mean, it's one or the other. Again, it can't be both, so that's a contradiction, and that's just weird and bizarre. And I don't think will be in Petra, but it does say, they'll be in the wilderness, and there are other Bible verses like they'll be in hiding and a place prepared, and they're going to be in seclusion. They're going to be in an undisclosed location, in such a location. So they're not going to be running around. You can't have both at the same time. And that's it. I mean, it would be a contradiction no matter where the location is. You can't do both at the same time. Okay, so that is a strange one. Now, number 3 is this. I have heard also the whole time. It's in movies, it's in those, rapture movies, it's in books about the tribulation, it's just all over the place too. It's from the pulpit, they'll declare this kind of thing. And I hear it everywhere. I see it all over in the comments, on the websites and the videos, that, everybody thinks this. They all think this, and it's wrong. So number 3 is that the false prophet rises before the Antichrist. Okay, see, I mean, how many people think that? It's wrong. Okay, totally false. It's the complete opposite. The Antichrist rises before the false prophet, and the false prophet then, once he rises, he turns around and promotes the Antichrist. And it's the same model, it's the symmetry, like Jesus came and then the Holy Spirit came and points to Jesus. So it's a symmetry, it's, that kind of thing. And it's like the unholy trinity in their case. So, but that happens to be what the Bible says. Okay, the Antichrist rises before the false prophet. That's in Revelation 13. Beast number 1 and beast number 2. Okay, beast number one is the Antichrist. He rises first. Okay, beast number two is the false prophet. He rises second. So beast number one, Antichrist, rises first. Beast number two, false prophet, rises second. That's the order. It's right there in the Bible, and that's the only place that it's mentioned. So there is no reason to say the opposite. That's just false teaching, and it's spreading deception. And that could get dangerous because then you can have the Antichrist and they'll think, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a false prophet. I mean, it's all bad, but there are deceptions that can come in with that. So they won't think it's as late as it is or something. So, anyway, that's that. Now, number 4. So, 3, Revelation 13 gives the order. Okay, so you can read that. Number 4 is they claim this all the time, that Babylon, the original city, has to be rebuilt just because Revelation talks about some stuff about Babylon, but it's not referring to that city of Babylon. It's like mystery Babylon. It's the world system. It's things like this that it's symbolic. It's not the literal city of Babylon. And how do I know that? Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question because the Bible actually says that the city of Babylon will never be rebuilt. It was destroyed back then on one of those days, after the exile when they came back into Israel. And later on, there was judgment on Babylon. It was destroyed. And God said it would never be rebuilt. The city would remain in ruins forever. Okay, so that's a long time. That means it's not going to be rebuilt. And to this day, it's still just rubble. And there's like one historical landmark, just a marker for the city that was there, and that's all that's left. Okay, so that prophecy is in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 20. Okay, so Babylon will not be rebuilt. It's not a prerequisite. It's not a necessity for anything in the end times. So we're not waiting for that. Okay, next, number 5. There will be a revived Roman Empire, and they claim that it will be contained in Europe. So I remember back in the day when, Europe came together in a like the EU, the United Europe thing, and they were all talking about, oh, maybe that's the revived Roman Empire, da 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 da, and all this stuff, and they, were running around with this one, and I still hear them talking about this like that, and when you read the Bible, and in Daniel chapter 7, verse 23 in particular, where it talks about the 4 empires, and there is that final world empire that is from kind of the Roman leftovers, so to speak. Okay, that is a thing there will be a one world government in the end, and that's a global empire. That's the last empire that's mentioned on that list, the last world system. It's mentioned in Daniel chapter 7. But that's the thing. It's a global empire. It's not contained in any section of the world. It's not contained in Europe. Okay. It's all over the world because it's a world government. All right. So it would have to include Europe and everywhere else, but it's a global system. It's not just in Europe. So I don't know where they get that idea and why, I don't know, but it's wrong. So the 4th world empire is a world empire. It's global, whether it would be Roman or anything else. It's global, but it's Roman related. So anyway, that's a long story, and that has to do with all the other puzzle stuff I would get to later. But okay, so that's it. Number 6. The falling away happens during the tribulation. No. Okay. All right. In 2 Thessalonians 2, it mentions the falling away, which the Greek word is apostasia, which means falling away. It's apostasy. I know it's a shock. Apostasia actually means apostasy. So it doesn't mean rapture like some other deceivers are saying, but it's falling away, apostasy. And that doesn't happen just during the tribulation. That has already been happening. It sort of unfolds slowly and then it moves faster and faster. And this is increasing all the time. But I remember, technically, you could say it started around the year 2000 because that's when the churches were really falling away. They really embarked on that whole business model. They started going down that, purpose driven road. They started compromising in every way. And as a result, it became the harlot because that's what a harlot does. She sells out for money. And that was the beginning of the thing with the falling away. And it's been going on and increasing ever since. Now, of course, there'll be much more, as there is much more all the time. There'll be more then as well. But it's not going to wait until then to start. This ball has been rolling for 25 years already. And I've seen it. So, okay. So there's that. All right. Now, okay, these I'm going to pick up with at the end. I have my list here. Okay, next one is, so if that's 6, that would make this 7. Yeah. The wedding feast goes on during the tribulation. Okay, that, I'm going to go here for that one. Revelation 19. Okay, Revelation 19, 7 to 9 here. All right, let us be glad and rejoice and give him glory, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife has made herself ready. Okay, so this is like that little time before the wedding when the bride is up in the room putting on the finishing touches and ready to go down and walk down the aisle. This is that time. All right. And to her it was granted to be arrayed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteous acts of the saints. Oh, okay. So we have saints, righteous acts. That's what the fine linen is. So, okay. And then 9, then he said to me, right, blessed are those who are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said to me, these are the true sayings of God. Okay, so this is when it's about to begin. The marriage supper wedding feast is about to begin here, which means it hasn't happened yet. Okay, which means everything else before this has already happened. Yeah, so all the plagues and all the wrath, the bowls of wrath, the seals, the trumpets, all those other things that happen. Okay, everything apocalypse wise has already happened, and this is at the end. So, okay, timeline. That's what it is. Okay, then number 8. God can only deal with one people group at a time. Bzzzt, wrong again, okay? He's God and he can deal with as many people groups as his heart desires. Okay, he's not limited to one people group. So, I don't know where they get that idea. It's not in the Bible. And they're, mentionings of God working with all different peoples all the time. I mean, it's like there's no reason to assume otherwise. Okay, now number 13. We're not, if you're saved, okay, we're not appointed to wrath. Okay, true, we're not, you know, but not appointed to wrath, this is what they say. Not appointed to wrath means we can't be on the planet at all. Okay, but then why was Noah on the planet? When there was global wrath, there'll be global wrath again. Noah was not removed, he was preserved, he was protected, but he remained on the planet. All right. In the tribulation, the 144,000 will be on the planet. They're not going to be removed, they're going to be here the whole time. So they're preserved and protected. They're not appointed to wrath, but they didn't need to be removed either to escape the wrath. See how that works? So God can do that with anyone because he's God. So again, it's just they will twist things to get to another destination with the end times, like end times order of events, and they have their reasons. They want people to think certain things and think in a certain way, and it's just, you have certain ideas for certain reasons. There's a whole deception behind all of this, okay? Okay, now, so those verses are Genesis 7 and Revelation 7 and 14. And it even says, they put the seal of God on their forehead so they'll be protected, and if other things are harmed, like they won't be. So it's all in there. Okay, number 14. The church suffering any kind of thing during the tribulation would be God beating up his bride before the wedding. Well, that sure sounds funny because Jesus told us we'd be persecuted, we'd be martyred, we'd suffer for his name's sake. Was that him beating up his bride before the wedding? No, not at all. All right, now, the difference is wrath is God's persecution. Well, I shouldn't say the word persecution. Let's put it this way. Persecution is the devil's wrath on the saved. Okay? Not God's wrath, the devil's wrath, because he hates the church. So he persecutes the church through his servants. That's his wrath or punishment, let's say. God's punishment is, aimed at the unsaved, and that's where the wrath is directed, not at the saved. So his judgment is totally different from persecution. We're persecuted, but we're not judged by God because of that. That's not God's judgment. That's really the devil's judgment, So Jesus said we would be persecuted. That's not a judgment on us. That's the devil's wrath, okay? So Philippians 1, verse 29 and 30, Philippians 3, verse 10. We have Matthew 5, 10 through 12, and John 15, verse 20. It's a long list, but that's just to start, okay? So definitely persecution is not God beating up his bride. Persecution is the devil, angry at the church. That's totally different, coming from a totally different direction. And we're to expect persecution. Again, that's not God beating up his bride before the wedding. That's just absurd to even suggest that. There will be wrath, but again, we don't have to be removed to not experience the wrath, because I just explained that for number 13. Noah wasn't removed, 144,000 are not removed. We don't have to be removed to not suffer the wrath. Okay, so if we're left here, that's not God beating up his bride. Okay, these are just people that want to twist your mind into thinking a certain way and just deceiving you. Okay, so that's what that's about. Oh, wait, that was 7, 8, 9, and 10. I have renumbered these, so all right. And then I'll come back to those. Another one, and I know I mentioned this number, then that would make this 11 in the other videos I did yesterday, is the false teachers that are saying that you can take the mark of the beast and still be okay or still be saved. You know, I mean, absolutely no. I mean, Revelation 14, verses 9 through 11 explicitly say anybody who takes the mark will go to the lake of fire. There's no second chance. There's no chance to repent. There's no U-turn possible. Nothing, okay? It's not that anything else can happen later. They took it. That's it. It's too late. So that's how that goes. So that's a very dangerous one. I don't know how much more dangerous it can get. So, yeah, I mentioned this, that one was saying this, who's down in the California, down in the Valley area, who just passed away. He was saying that, and there are videos out about it. So it's, somebody said it was on his website too. So it's a big website. I didn't look around at everything, but you know, he hasn't repented of that. He had not repented of that, saying that. So it's crazy. All right. And then I was saying this in the last video too, like the false unity they're pushing and all that, and they'll twist these Bible verses, and that guy was the one down in with a big church in Lake Forest who retired, and initials are RW. Yeah. So I mean, I have been researching and coming across things this whole time, and I know what's going on, but there's a lot of deception, and there's a reason behind it. Okay, the devil isn't deceiving the church for nothing. Okay, there's just an agenda behind it all. So it's good to be aware of the biblical facts so you can't be deceived. Again, Jesus said in Matthew 24, do not be deceived. Like, that's the number one danger of the end times, and when it starts out, is deception. Okay, now we have number 12. This one I hear all the time too. That, they'll refer to the blessed hope. And the blessed hope this, and the blessed hope that, and they'll claim it's the rapture, but they'll claim it's a pre-trib rapture, okay? So they claim the blessed hope is the rapture before the tribulation. Well, let's go there. It's Titus chapter 2, verse 13. Okay. So here we go. Titus chapter 2, verse 13. Okay. And here we go. So looking for the blessed hope. Okay, so we know this is the blessed hope, okay? The blessed hope and glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's it. Okay. Do you see anything in here about timing? Nope, because it's not in there. All right. So it's just not there. It's the return of Jesus. It's the glorious appearing of Jesus. This could be at the end of the tribulation. He returns then. So even if you're pre-trib, okay, they believe that he'll come at the end, but they think 7 years before that is the rapture. So there's no way to tell here. You can't pin this down. Is this at the end? Would this be at another time? Could it be mid-trib? Right? There is no timing indicated in here. Nothing. There is no way to assume this is a pre-trib rapture. They're reading that into the text. And that is the eisegesis error. The exegesis is what I'm doing right now. I'm reading it and seeing exactly what it says. Okay? So it is the return at the end, because that's when he comes back. But nobody could argue with me or prove it wrong, because there's no timing issue mentioned in here. So it doesn't say the blessed hope is his coming 7 years before the end, at the beginning of the tribulation, to rapture the church. It just doesn't say it anywhere in here. It's not in there. That's not what it's about. So that's not the blessed hope. Yeah, I know. The blessed hope is the glorious appearing and return of Jesus. That's the blessed hope. Okay, so read the whole passage, and there's nothing in there about any kind of thing about pre-trib. It's just not there. All right, number 13. The rapture is imminent. Okay, not according to 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 1 through 12. Okay, there's a certain sequence that has to happen. All right, and that's coming up in another number here. But so if you read those verses, 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 12, there's an order to it. I've been over that in videos before, but there are things that have to happen first. So it's not imminent, which means it can happen. There's nothing else waiting for it. It can happen at any time. But if certain things are supposed to happen first before it can happen, then it can't be imminent. And then it's not. So that's another deception. Okay. So now we have, this one is related. So I'll make this 14. The Antichrist comes after the rapture, as well as all the other events in the tribulation, because that's what they think. But 2 Thessalonians 2 has it the other way around. It says first comes the falling away, then the Antichrist is revealed, and then is the event, which is actually the return and rapture rolled into one. But that's the order. That's the sequence it goes in. And it says that has to happen first. So it's the other order. It's the other way around from what they're saying. Okay, so we would see the Antichrist. It's not that we wouldn't. And that's the key takeaway there. So that's where it gets dangerous. People will think, oh, that can't be him because we're still here. But, we have to be here to see it. So it could be him. That's it. That's the thing, that is exactly the thing. So it's at the end, and so everything else technically has to happen first, and including the revealing of the Antichrist. But it says that happens first before the rapture. So the gathering together, okay? So that's the rapture. So read 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 1 through 12. And you'll see there's the timeline right there, the sequence, the outline. Just write it out and you'll see. Okay, now number 15. That's the last one. Of course, you knew I was going here. The rapture is pre-trib and comes at the first trumpet rather than the last. But the Bible says it comes at the last trumpet, and it's at the end, which is at the return of Jesus after tribulation. So it's the final end there. That's what it says. And I did videos on this. I'm not gonna, go over all that, but the same verse has it anyway, 1 through 12, and actually all those verses. So just go read it for yourself. Matthew 24, it's in there. I did a whole video with all the verses in it, and that's it. Okay, but this is what nobody wants to hear because it's not comfortable for them and they don't understand they've been deceived in all these ways about, oh, well, it can't be that way because of blah, 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 or then blankety blank, but those are all the ways in which they've been deceived, like the beating up the bride excuse or all these other things, wrath, and none of that applies. It's all been twisted. That's the thing. And when you strip all those deceptions away and you face reality, just look it in the eye, and that's what it is. Most people are afraid, so they run and hide from it. And they want to cover themselves with a blanket, a little security blanket of one of these lies they've been told. But it's a very dangerous place to be in, okay? If that's what it is, the best thing is to be aware and know that, okay? Read Revelation with new eyes, all right? Okay, and it's not something to divide over, but people want to do that, and that's just how it's going to be. Like I made that joke the other day. I have a friend who, she knows I believe it's at the end of the tribulation. She's pre-trib, so we make this joke where we'll make a bet, okay? And if she's right, let's say like we have to pick a date, like they're all talking about September 24. So we would pick a date, and if she would really think it's going to be that day, we'd make a bet. And then I would say, okay, if I'm right and you're wrong, then we'll still be here. And then the following weekend, you have to buy a pizza and treat us to pizza. And okay, we agree on that. And then if she's right and I'm wrong, then I would treat us to the pizza the following weekend. Because if we wouldn't be here, then I'm off the hook, right? So anyway, if I lose the bet, but anyway, it's just a funny joke we have. So that's it. All right, so that is actually the end of this video, and it wasn't too long. That's good. Okay. All right, so I'll be back with something else tomorrow, and after that, I'm gonna do next week. I'm gonna get into the Old Testament, so I'm gonna do an introduction video before that at some point, and kind of explain the format I'm gonna take as I go through it, so people will know what the deal is, what I'll be focusing on, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, that is it for today. Okay, so you have a blessed night.